Welcome back, everybody, to another installment of what goes on in the Spawn Dye Lab. To all of you who watched our last video on dyeing some teal feathers, we really appreciate that. Had a lot of great comments, a lot of great interaction, and that's what we are looking for. It's what we do day in, day out here at Spawn, is try to start a conversation with you and find out what it is you really want to know, what it is you're pursuing, be it a fish species or a certain material, how to get that specific color, and that's why we're here today. So today, as I said, we're going to jump into one of your requests, and that is a bucktail. And why would you dye your own bucktail? There are so many options out there, right? From different size grades, and then of course the colors, a bunch of different colors. Well, what if you're like me? What if you're like Josh, where you've seen all the colors, but you're really keyed in on a specific species, and you know, man, if I could get this color just one shade this way or one shade that way, I think I could have caught more fish. That's why we dye our own stuff. Because if you think you know something and you've got the answer, by all means, dye it to that color. Tie it up, go fish it, find out if you're right or not. And even if you're not right, it's going to give you one more piece of information to put into that total puzzle that is a lifetime pursuit. We're not talking about next week's fisheries. We're talking about doing this for as long as we're on this planet. That's our goal anyway. So enough of that. What are we going to dye today? Again, this is where it comes in. I've got orange bucktail. I've got, I don't know, 12 different sorts of orange bucktail. You know what I don't have? This color. This is cantaloupe. And this is a little swatch of synthetic, so keep in mind, our finished bucktail might not be this exact tone, but it's going to be pretty darn close. And so that's about all I have to say as far as getting into this thing. I'm ready to get dirty. Hopefully you're ready to get dirty. Let's go dye a bucktail. Real quickly, in the pot that we're going to use to dye this bucktail, I do have 6 quarts, gallon and a half of room temperature water. And now, time to rinse that bucktail. So here we have our cleaned bucktail. This thing has been in soapy solution with that soap and downy 72 hours. This one was a little funky. Took a little scrape here and there, get some excess stuff off, change that water out a few times, add new soap, new downy, and here we go, time to rinse. Now we'll get that scale tared out, got our container on top ready to go. And again, I've done this quite a bit. Oop, there's a little extra. What I'm looking for today is 2 grams of dye. And yes, that's a bunch of dye. Going for a very specific saturation. And there we go, 2 grams.
That's what I get for leaning into the best friend. Now I've got 1 more accent, 2 less hands here for holding. Ignored all of my reasons for running far from my feelings. Now I'm down on my knees and watching you as you're leaving. I hear you say goodbye, and I'm saying fine, but being honest with myself. I'm a mess.
Just added that dye, mixed first as a slurry, and then into a little bit of water. That goes into the pot. And now I'm going to add our setting agent, which is again roughly about a 1/3 cup of white vinegar. Get that stirred thoroughly. Voila. Thing is set. We've got our dye in the water, got our setting agent in the water, we've got our rinsed bucktail. Still kept it wet while we got everything else prepped, and now right in we go. And that's it. Just Keep an eye on it. Keep stirring as you wait for it to hit the tone you're trying to achieve. And let's get some heat going. 140 degrees. See you guys in just a little over an hour.
Guess that's what I get for leaning into the best run. Now I've got one more accent, 2 less hands here for holding. Ignored all of my reasons for running far from my feelings. Now I'm down on my knees and watching you as you're leaving.
Time to turn off that pot. We have full saturation on our bucktail. As I pull it out here, I'll show you what I'm looking for that determines this full saturation, at least for myself. And this is a bin with cold water, nothing else. Again, just let everything calm down and relax, slow down the molecules that are moving. But where the hairs come off of the hide or that chunk of skin there, when the color hits there and it's fully in, that's full saturation. And me, time to yank her out, let her relax for a little bit, and then we'll get into rinsing and drying. Alright, we've let it sit in that cold water. Any excess dye should have kind of released, and all we're going to do now is rinse her off. Get any of that excess dye that's just sitting on the surface to come off. A little warmer temp now. And if there's one thing to be cautious about, you just don't want to heat up the skin too much. If there's any oil left, that's where it's going to live. And even when we're drying this, I don't want to heat that up again. And when we dry it, we'll leave that exposed to the air, so we'll leave that skin side up for fully completion of drying time, and also so that none of that oil leaks into our usable fiber.
Guess that's what I get for leaning into the best run. Now I've got one more accent, 2 less hands here for holding. Ignored all of my reasons for running far from my feelings. Now I'm down on my knees and watching you as you're leaving.
What are you doing right now, Pete?
Blow drying my bucktail like everybody does. I would blow dry my own hair, but this is much more fulfilling. One thing I want to mention, when you're drying your bucktails, especially on high heat like I am today, avoid hitting the skin, that leather, or the skin. I guess it's more skin than anything. This is, if there's any oil left in this product, it's in there. And so the more you heat that up, you're just asking for trouble. It's going to come to the surface. If you're not there right on the spot with a paper towel, there's a chance you leak into your fibers. And once those get coated in oil, they're not going to play nice, and it can spread into the rest of the tail. So just kind of be mindful of that section right there. Blow dry the heck out of everything else, and then here's the last thing you do. Like this, on top of something that's open air like a screen, and in front of a fan for a couple days, ready to go to use. Alright, time to go look at this bad boy in some better light. So it's been a couple days here since we dyed our bucktail cantaloupe, and I have to say I'm going to call this a success. I've got a bucktail that now sits just askew or to the side of orange. It's not yellow. It has almost a hint of a pink quality in there. This is what I was looking for. Something unique, something you can't just pick up off of somebody's website. You got to get the dye. You got to put in the work. Make the color you think is going to be the most effective. And that's what we've done today. So after 3 days total, 1 day of dye, 2 nights in front of a fan, get that thorough dry, and this is what we're left with. Completely saturated, fully dyed bucktail fiber. There's no burning, no nothing like that from too much heat. Keep that temp at 140. Can't go wrong. Hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, by all means, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and we will see you all on the water.